Hi, I'm Craig Sires, the head of AI, Analytics, and Big Data for AWS Asia Pacific. Thanks for joining this session. So the session that we'll cover today is on seamless experiences. So how many times have you been on a phone call, you've called a call center, and you had that really frustrating moment where you're trying to go through and you're listening like, please hit 3 for this option, 4 for that option, and you're just thinking like, why is this so hard? If I could just explain what I wanted to happen, this would just be a whole lot easier. Or you're waiting in line somewhere and you've already done your shopping and you're just waiting to get out of the store and you're thinking, like, I don't understand why I have to wait so long just to check out. Like, this is kind of a ridiculous experience. Or any other number of times where maybe you've you've been shopping with this one company and you've used their website or you've gone into a store, but then when you use the mobile, it doesn't know who you are and you're getting these weird recommendations or it's not very personalized to you. And you think, like, how hard is it for this company just to know who I am and to treat me like one person? So these experiences, like, they can be easier. So let's dig a little bit into the customers that are kind of getting this right, and then let's look at how it is that you can use some of the same technologies to give those same seamless experiences to your customers. So we'll kind of start with the overall theme here is around seamless experiences. And what we're really talking about is when we say seamless, we're removing borders, right? We're removing the barriers of an experience, that hard line of when an experience has stopped and when it started. So what we're going to look at is a few of the ways that natural interfaces and really good personalization systems make the user feel like they're having a really nice flow. So you've brought your service to them as opposed to them going out and having to really figure out how to use your service. So there's some great cases of this. We see this across, of course, chatbots are gaining a lot of popularity. Robo-advisors are starting to pick up. We do have the advent of, with voice enablement through the Alexa system, lots of Alexa skills that have been written for different kinds of, whether it's booking rides or it's being able to order food to your house. There's a lot of new innovation happening on the Alexa skill front. Enriched multimedia, I'm going to talk about a couple of those cases that are pretty interesting. And then there's also just going to be a deeper level of understanding people's sentiment. And what I think has really changed in this space. Previously, we thought about sentiment in maybe you typed something into a forum or you posted something on social media, and that content was what determined if your sentiment was positive or negative. But now that we can take more around the video and audio, there's some interesting options to better understand what sentiment really is of a person. So let's dig into this. The first case that we'll talk about is Amazon Go. And you may have seen some video on this. This was a retail experience that we launched not too long ago. And right now we have a store in Seattle, Washington. Now, I had the opportunity to go into the Amazon Go, I guess it was about 6 months ago. And I didn't really know what to expect from an experience standpoint, because in the store we use computer vision and sensor fusion and deep learning to make the shopping experience more seamless. You really can go in and take an item off the shelf, take another item off the shelf, and walk out of the store, and there's no cashiers. So I thought, well, will this feel like a strange experience? And the first time I went and I grabbed an object, I walked, and I was very aware of the surroundings, trying to understand how this all worked. But what was interesting is the second time I went into the store, I walked in, I took what I wanted, and I walked out, and it's almost like within just two times of visiting, it's almost like I had just forgotten about this need to go to a checkout. And so it was a pretty interesting experience from a seamless perspective. So, and there's some nice features there. So a person can pick something up, and without having to scan codes, they can look at an item. If they don't want it, they can put it back on a shelf, and it just disappears out of their shopping cart. And like when I went, you walk out of the store, and within a few seconds, your phone buzzes, and you get an email with your receipt. It's really changing completely what we think the retail experience could be. So let's go into another Amazon product. So we have something called the Amazon Echo Look. Now, you may be familiar with the Amazon Echo, which is the tall device that was launched initially. And then we had some other form factors. We had the shorter one, so we had the Tap, and then we had the Dot. But now there's a product called the Echo Look. Now, Echo Look pulls together some pretty interesting components. It has a device that has a camera, and it's got a microphone in it. And behind it, it's got the brain, which is Alexa, which sits on the cloud. And it's able to, you can put on an outfit and you can stand and let the Echo look at you, and it can give you some sort of rating on the outfit that you've got on. And it can give you a recommendation to say, hey, this is really a good outfit for you, or it's not. So it's using machine learning to be able to take that image, process it, give you a recommendation, and then you can have a voice communication with this system. So again, from a personal fashion standpoint, just things that haven't really been done before. So changing that experience of, getting ready to go out to an event or go out and socialize, of really what that could be like. Now, a third, Pinterest, you would know. Pinterest is a great customer of ours, and Pinterest has been doing some interesting stuff around the collation and collection of themes and pins. They've been collecting content from users for quite a while now. But they introduced some things that I found pretty interesting. One of them was looking for being able to use a lens, so say within a picture, I want to be able to zoom down and identify what's sitting within that picture. So I want to be able to zoom in and say, please show me what's underneath this one area. And it could be, the bag that somebody's holding, or the clothes that they're wearing, or being able to detect what else is in that scene. But also, now they have something that's a visual search. So let's say that you're doing some home decorating and you look at a picture and somebody's got this great layout of their home. You can say, show me other places where this lamp exists. Show me other context of where these things that I really like, show me what they look like in other environments. Well, that starts to get pretty interesting, because previously searching on an object within a picture was kind of hard to do. So with their use of machine learning and with the use underneath that of deep learning, they're able to provide a really different experience for their customers using AWS and the technologies. Now, let's move a little bit from the social media and that idea around images. Let's move over to video. So Amazon Prime Video launched, and within the video, there's a number of segments and features that are broadcast across the system. But what's interesting is across those, underneath, if you pause or if you go into what's called the X-ray feature, it does some markup of what you're actually watching. So let's say that you're watching the show Grand Tour, and okay, it's pretty interesting. And then you look at X-ray, and it actually shows you who's currently in the scene. So it'll show you the people who are on the screen at that time. And if there's other stuff like trivia about the car that's being shown, trivia about the scene that they're in, it can also give you other information about what you're watching. It also has recognition of the music that's playing, the score that's in the background. Well, this can be pretty interesting if you're, say, watching a movie and you want to know who that actor is, and then you can do a lookup on them and find what else they're in. If you really like that actor or actress and you want to see more of them, it's a lot easier to do now. So we've kind of talked through a lot of the multimedia part of it. So we've talked about shopping, I've talked about home, home fashion, getting ready, even looked at home design around Pinterest and video. Now let's go in and talk more about chatbots. Now, chatbots are interesting because a lot of the experience that we have with chatbots as consumers is I call up somewhere, and instead of getting a person or getting an IVR where you have to kind of punch the 1, 2, or 3, more and more we're getting some sort of AI on the other side that we talk to, and it responds back to us. So we think about chatbots from the consumer side. But there's this company called Freshdesk. Freshdesk, they're really creative in this. They said, actually, what if we use chatbots on our back-end process? Could we do something more effective? Could we be different? So Freshdesk, they're a call center company, so they actually provide call center services on the behalf of their customers. But on the back end, of course, you have people who are managing that process. So Freshdesk, they created these things called Freshbots. And what a Freshbot does is it uses speech recognition and natural language processing so that when a person's handling a ticket, let's say you call into the call center and there's some problem and it needs to be routed, that agent, instead of typing in to say, here's what happened during the call, is able to issue a voice command to the Freshbot, which interprets it and then can route that to the right agent. And they're getting multiples of return on efficiency at being able to take away that sort of clunky need to use a keyboard to be able to drive the next part of a process and just have a person describe what happened, what the resolution was, and let the system send it to the next appropriate person. So pretty creative, very interesting use of that technology. Now, we've kind of talked through the chatbot. Now let's move across to some of the deeper use of how it is that machine learning can be applied to multiple facets of a business. So not just the back-end process, but also how products are created and how recommendations and even how fraud is combated. So there's a customer of ours called Intuit. And if you're familiar with the financial services industry, they do a lot around tax preparation, and they have some other financial service guidance that they provide for their customers. So Intuit is always looking to get better and produce better products and better services. So they use machine learning for a few different parts of their business. One is they're building smarter products. They're using machine learning to understand trends, understand context, and be able to enrich the application experience for their users. Think about this as just enhancing the quality of the apps. They're also looking for anomalies. So if maybe a person has conducted a transaction or there's something that looks kind of suspicious, Intuit has a better idea because they can look at past trends to say, this doesn't look like normal behavior, or for this person it looks anomalous. So I'm going to flag that and get in touch with them and make sure that something strange isn't happening within their account. And the final part is around, think of it like personalization, being able to have better customer care that's built off of AI, that's built off of this large pool of what they've learned about people who are investing and people who are preparing the finances for themselves and for their business. And being able to use that to enhance the knowledge base of the people who are servicing those customers and be able to serve that out in a much more intelligent way. Now, I'm going to dig in a little bit. We haven't really looked at the architectures behind, so let's do that now. So Intuit, you can kind of see that there's a flow here, and they start with the data that's been collected, and they move it through, and they have to do some calculation of the features. So as they move that data and they processed it, they then need to move it up into the area where they start to use that, and they do some training on it. They're going to do some lookup. But at some point now they need to push that out into the larger scale, the training and the hosting of those models. So the options they had before were they could try to pick which model do they think is the right, and then they, like we talked about earlier with SageMaker, the challenges they had were they had to pick the right model, they had to tune it, they had to then train it, they had to deploy to production. They've moved over to using SageMaker for both the training and the hosting of those models. So again, really looking at, is there just an easier way that they can take these very powerful technologies and ability to use machine learning on a bigger scale and hand those back to everyday developers? So as we dig down into the architectures, let's actually go a little bit deeper and really look at what's the full suite that you can look at when you're starting to build applications for seamless experiences. So let's talk about building with AI. Now, in the keynote this morning, we talked through this stack. So there's 3 parts to the machine learning stack on Amazon Web Services. We have the bottom, which is the frameworks and interfaces. This is really the deep learning bits, where you would, where you're finding your TensorFlows and MXNet and Caffe2 and so on. And then you have the middle section, and this is the platform. And on the platform was where SageMaker lives, and we also have Deep Lens, and there's others, Spark and EMR, very popular machine learning model building interfaces. But what I want to focus on here is, for this session, let's really dive into that top section, that top layer, which are the application services. Now, we mentioned before that there's kind of 2 major areas that we see that there's been a lot of interest, and so we've invested in building these products for our customers. One is around vision, and the second is around language. So let's dive a little deeper and look into what you can do with these services. Let's first look at vision. So within vision, we have a service called Amazon Recognition. And Amazon Recognition has 2 parts, Amazon Recognition Image and Amazon Recognition Video. So within Amazon Recognition Image, there's a number of features. So think about, you've got some image that a user has uploaded to your site, or maybe somebody's taken a picture and you're trying to analyze what that means, or you've captured a still off of a video frame, or wherever that image comes from. Well, you probably want to know what's in it. So with Amazon Recognition, you can scan that image and it'll tell you what are the objects in it, and are there any people that you know in that, and based on that, if you match that person, or even if you don't match that person, can you get an idea of like, what do they look like how old are they maybe, and are they smiling, and get a feel for, within that picture, who is it and what kind of mood are they in and what other objects are around them. So pretty powerful application and service that's available for you to stream your pictures to. But as we move from images to video, the challenges get a little bit, they're a little trickier. Now, we talked before about, in order to understand the context of a video, it's really important to know what happened before and then eventually what happens after. So to get some context, you can just take a still frame, but it's actually the motion. So it's over time, understanding how the scene is changing. So we released Amazon Recognition Video to really help our customers solve that problem, understanding what's inside of a video or a set of moving images. So within Amazon Recognition Video, some of the feature set that we saw with Recognition Image is similar. Picking up what are the objects, who are the people, what is the, looking for inappropriate content, looking for celebrities. So those are all similar features, but it's also got a new feature and something that doesn't exist in any other video machine vision sort of product. And it's something called person tracking. Now person tracking solves a problem that was really hard with being able to analyze video before. Let's say you've got 3 people who are in a frame and they're walking together and one of them walks out of the frame or they walk behind an object. Other systems might say, I no longer see that person, they're not in the picture. But actually they are, right? They're just out, they're not able to identify them in that moment, or you're not able to see them, but they're still in the frame. So what we have with person tracking is the ability to use what's called skeleton modeling that says, based on who was just there before and who's now gone missing, who do we expect to see again? So being able to make a really smart assessment of who's still in the picture, even if they're obscured, or if their face is turned, or if they've gone just out of frame and then come back in. So again, solving this problem that before was really hard for our customers to solve on their own. Also that the system is going to get smarter over time, so it's continually training. It's learning where it recognized things correctly and where it needed to be improved. So a system that gets smarter and smarter over time. And we really built this with the idea of, let's make this as low cost as possible so that our customers can use this without really having to be concerned about the cost implications as they're building their applications. But what we see more and more is video is coming from a lot of places. It's coming from phones, it's coming from webcams, it's coming from CCTVs. There's so many places that are generating video streams. And traditionally, it was really hard for our customers and just for the bigger industry to say, what do we do with all this video data? So previously, a lot of times it was just ignored. So what we see is, hey, what if there was a way to capture all that video streaming data, bring that in, analyze it, and do something useful with it? So what we built was not just the analysis service, but we've released a service called Amazon Kinesis Video Streams. Now, what this allows you to do is, as the video is generated, you're able to stream this and then connect it directly down onto Recognition Video. So it gives you the ability to ingest that video in real time and be able to do the analytics inline. And they're fully integrated services. So really taking that heavy lifting that our customers had to do before and taking it away for them. So here's what it could look like. So let's say you have a remote camera and maybe you've got some smart cams around your home. And you said, well, what I want to do is within my home, I want to sometimes go back and replay what happened at home at 3 o'clock because there was a delivery and I just kind of wanted to see what happened to the package. Or maybe you want to have some real-time sort of analytics and you want to say, as this video streams in, if there's somebody who I know who's in this frame, I want to get an alert. Or there was a pretty funny case where somebody they were having their trash cans sort of upset by a bear. But they also had their own dog that was running around in the yard and they wanted to identify, hey, I only want to activate and be alerted when there's a bear out back, not when my dog is running around. So not just looking for motion, but specifically being able to identify, hey, there's a bear in this video feed. So that was a pretty cool case. So what that would look like is video comes in through a remote camera, it connects to the video Kinesis video streams, it flows directly down into Amazon Recognition Video, at which point it gets processed. You can store it down into S3 or a data lake. You can store it there for future retrieval, Or you can process it and say, hey, if I see a bear in my backyard, I'd like to then something to happen. I want to get an SMS, or I want my mobile, I want something to happen in my mobile app. So being able to use Lambda, which is serverless compute, to say, hey, I recognize this event, now I want to do something. And being able to make that a fully mobile experience. So now let's dig into, we talked about the vision part, now let's talk about the language. So I had mentioned earlier, there's a few services that were released. So Amazon Transcribe, and Transcribe takes audio and WAV files and MP3 files, and it converts them into text. So there are some features to this. We have transcribing, being able to take, again, as audio is streaming in, being able to take that and move into something it's really more, we're able to do some processing on it. We're looking for not just taking a long stream, like if you would have seen other transcription services, they kind of look like this. As you're talking, it's just adding the words that it recognizes. And maybe it gets them right, and that's okay, but it tends to just be this long string of text. So what we've introduced is intelligent punctuation. So as you dictate and as you're talking, or as you're listening to this audio stream and it's processing it, it's able to add in what it thinks is the right punctuation to make it an actual readable sentence in paragraphs that make sense. So that's been something that was really highly requested from our customers. Also looking for different quality of audio. Not all audio that comes in sounds great. It's not high bit rates. Sometimes you want to support audio that's coming off of telephones or telephony data. And as that comes in, it's a much lower sample rate. Being able to use that as well. So we have support for both, high fidelity and also very low fidelity audio as that comes into the system. We also have the ability to add custom vocabularies. Maybe you're in the medical industry, or maybe you're in the agriculture industry and you have your own languages. Well, as you hear an audio file, you want to make sure that the words that are very specific to you are translated the right way and are put down into the text in the way that you would expect. And so we have time stamping and we have confidence score. So as you speak, and it's interpreting the sounds as they come across, saying, okay, these words I'm really confident about, but it can actually say these words, 85% confident that I interpreted that the right way. And then that system can also learn. So as certain words are recognized correctly, that's fine. And ones that are corrected, that can then help improve those models. Amazon Translate is another service. So Translate goes between, right now we have a couple of languages. So we have 12 language pairings that are currently available today. And what we expect is over time, what you'll see is that we'll add more and more languages to this service as it goes from preview and it moves to general availability and is rolled out to other regions. So Translate provides it has natural language processing and understanding, and it's able to convert what it hears in one language or what it has in text in one language to another language. So this is something, again, as we are looking at systems that are submitting data in batch or in real time, being able to process in both ways. Now, the third service is Amazon Comprehend. So great, so we've received audio, it's come in, it's turned into text, and maybe that text we need to change to a different language. So we've gone from transcribe to translate, but what does it mean? So Amazon Comprehend is natural language processing. And that natural language processing is a fully managed system for you to take whatever text you've got and understand what the intentions of it, understand the content of that text, which is a pretty interesting opportunity. If you're building applications and you're listening to what your customers are trying to tell you, really understanding the intent is important. So I had mentioned before that there's 4 things that Amazon Comprehend does. It takes in all these feeds of text from wherever they come from, and it's able to process it into 4 real big groups. So you've got entities, which these would be people and objects and so on. You have key phrases, would have understanding what language it's coming in, and finally being able to determine a sentiment. Now, sentiment analysis, I've been in the analytics industry for quite a long time. Sentiment analysis, we've wanted to do this for a long time, and different systems have had different effectiveness, but being able to really throw that powerful back-end system that has deep learning and is using machine learning on the back end, but now you get all 4 of these on a fully managed service. You make an API call, you send the text to it, and then you get back these 4 categories without having to manage any of the servers underneath. So again, a pretty compelling offering for people who want to build this into their applications. Now, the final part of Comprehend is this is doing something that other natural language processing systems just can't do. You can either say, I want to send through a document or I send through a text blurb, which there might be others that are covering this, but we can throw 1,000 documents all at once, and it starts to build collections. So it's building up topics. Now, this gets pretty interesting for people building apps because maybe you're bringing in several bits of content and you don't just want to match on a keyword, you actually want to build around the topics. So if you have a document that is about sports, or you have a document that is about politics, or you have one that's about travel or about bears in your backyard or whatever it is, those topics then start to cluster together all of those pieces of information so that you say, hey, this one is related to that other one. So when you're looking for the actual intentions, you're looking for the meaning across a huge volume of text or in documents, you're now able to do it in a way that was pretty hard to do before. So pulling these together, we've got translate, we've got transcribe, and we have comprehend. So what might they look like in a real world environment? So let's talk about how we could use these together in a coordinated fashion. Let's take the case of, just give an example. You're running a business and you really want to understand what your customers' feedback to you is. Now there's a couple channels that it can come to you. They may call and you have a call center, and from that they have a direct conversation with your customer, your agents do. They capture that audio and they capture some notes. That's one place. But also your customers may be online and they may be on social media feeds or anywhere. They're giving feedback about your product or about your services. Well, both of those are really important. So let's look at how you might capture those. Here's a wrinkle though. Here's a bit of a challenge. They may not even be in the same language. And they don't look the same. So let's think about how you might solve this problem. So call center, okay, they call in, they speak to an agent who's speaking a specific language, that's okay. And it's capturing, it's recording the audio, it's sending it through transcribe, and then it comes up in that little Lambda function that's the serverless compute that says, okay, what should we do with this now? So it's taken the audio, it's turned it into text and said, now I want to take this, I want to understand it. So I want to comprehend what happened on that call. Was the customer happy? Did they have specific feedback about a product or service? And I want to store that somewhere. I want to put that into Amazon S3. Okay. Now we've got the other side of it, which is, hey, we've got people who are out on Twitter and they said something to us, but instead of saying it in English, they said it in Spanish or they said it in German or another language. Okay, well, that's really valuable to us, so we want to capture that, and we might use something like Kinesis Firehose. So capture the Twitter Firehose, put it through the Kinesis Firehose, and then we want to translate it. So we detect the language, and now we say, based on that, we've detected it, and now we will also want to understand what that text means. So we've translated it back down to a common language like English, said, okay, based on that, want to comprehend it. But now those two may be connected. We may be looking for a trend over time about a product or about a particular change in service agreement, something that's really core to the business. We can move those through to use Amazon Athena to capture that data that's been put into S3 and surface that out through something like QuickSight, looking for trends, looking for hotspots. Now, if you look across here, there's something really unique about this pattern and about this architecture. Every one of these is a serverless capability. So you could actually build an end-to-end service without ever having to stand up a server. You're running all the fully managed services around AI, the storage with S3, and you're querying through Athena and using QuickSight, all without having to set up a server. What we're seeing is that running this, being able to build this, because it's all just APIs, it takes maybe about a day to build. And what we looked at from a costing perspective is this would cost our average AWS customer about $17 a day to run. So again, a pretty interesting value proposition for our customers. So let's go ahead and wrap up. We've looked, at the trends that are really driving why people are using AI and what's changing in the industry that just making this so compelling. And there's three categories. We've talked about seamless experience. In the next session, we're going to talk about the automation of the business. And that will include things like automated machines. and then further these deep dives into scientific breakthroughs, the things that are really changing the world around us. So with that, want to thank you very much.
I'm Stephen Birchall, Product Director here at Statler. Statler is a leading SaaS content marketing platform that allows businesses to make that shift away from brand-centric marketing to user-generated content marketing. So what we allow organisations to do is to take advantage of all the user-generated content that's out there that's talking positively about their business, and to take that content and use it to help achieve key marketing outcomes. Statler has around 70 employees based in a number of different locations, including Sydney, Melbourne, New York, Austin, San Francisco and London. So we have grown to be a global company over the past 5 years. From the start, Statler had quite a large number of sports and entertainment-based clients. So as to be expected with those type of clients, they have quite a number of engaged fans who are producing large amounts of content, and the type of content they produce is often in spikes. So we knew we had to have infrastructure that could handle those type of requirements and all that. You know, businesses like the NRL expect, one, for you to be able to handle their major events, and two, for you to have consistent uptime. So it only made sense for us to, one, look towards the cloud, and two, to go with a provider like Amazon, who not only had the reputation but also had the Australian-based data centres and were continually investing in their technology. We knew it was actually going to not only satisfy those requirements back then in 2012, but would continue to grow as Statler grew as a business. One of the biggest strengths that we've always found when using Amazon Web Services has been the framework to deliver new products or new enhancements in a really efficient manner. So whether this has been from delivering new products such as Copilot, or from building integrations with other third-party marketing technologies, the products and services that Amazon is able to provide and the integrations that already exist with this existing ecosystem has allowed us to turn around projects in a matter of weeks, or worst case months, versus with other providers we were looking at timelines close to half a year or longer. So, from products such as Amazon Comprehend and so on, we can actually continue to invest heavily into the machine learning and artificial intelligence space, and actually find ways to save time and effort for our customers. We also then can continue to improve our infrastructure and improve our services to the point where we are delivering this content, whether it is to a website, whether it is to an email, whether it's to a digital out-of-home execution, or to a display ad in a timely and efficient manner, which means our customers are able to take the Statler solution to market in the quickest time frame possible. One of the biggest advantages of a cloud-based solution has been the ability for it to handle scaling and spikes and the growing needs of a business such as Statler. As we've grown from only a couple of clients to more than 450 globally, Amazon has been able to provide us the infrastructure as needed to quickly and easily deploy new services.